What's up, Apex Nation, and welcome back to some more NieR Replicant. Can you, be proper for me? Thank you. I can't remember if they said hit new game? Or did they say hit continue? It may have been hit continue. So we'll hit continue and see what happens. Because we got to get on to Kaine's story, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. It might be more fun than our main character story.
Whenever I interacted with Kaine, I was reminded about something from my past. Maybe my mind has been confusing her with my sister this whole time. Anyway...
Kaine's dream, discrimination. No, not a novel. Come on, game. The sound of rain filled the village. The steep cliffs that surrounded the area magnified sound, causing even the slightest drizzle to rattle like a thunderstorm. Thin wisps of smoke streamed from the huts of the villagers huddled in their homes and waited out the rain. A single child, however, had braved the downpour and was now wandering slowly towards the wooden, hawk-shaped weather vane at the center of town. The wanderer reached the vane, which had existed for as long as any could remember, and stared. The child's face was simultaneously delicate and fierce, like a teacup that had survived a shipwreck. Those traits combined with a pale white skin to give the face an almost sexless quality. Well, that's mean. If the beak turns east, I go home. If it stays west, then The child blinked. Rain slowly dripped down from the young one's short hair and began its long descent to the ground. Come on, come on. The child felt a slight breeze and watched the vein slowly creak to life, spinning this way and that. For a moment, it finally settled, with the beak pointing firmly to the east. East? Really? Before the vein could move again, even a jagged rock came spinning and tumbling through the air, striking home against the child's head. What? The force of the blow dropped the child to the ground as a hail of stones began to fall all around. Oh no, they found me. A heartbreaking smile crept across the child's face as the stones continued their assault. Through the rain, the sound of multiple footsteps grew louder before a voice rang out. Ho ho, Kaine! A voice belonged to Daimo, worst of all the bullies in the area. As Kaine struggled to stand, a final stone came skittering through the mud and bounced against her foot. Blood oozed from a cut above her eye and blurred her vision, but she could make out the shape of Daimo and his usual gang of idiots. The boy seemed taken aback for a moment by Kaine seemingly indifferent to the blood dripping down from her face, but quickly regained his bravado. "What's up, freak? You like rain? You like getting all wet? Or do you finally decide to run away from home?" Though she knew it was futile, Kaine turned to leave. Before she could get more than a few steps, the other children scrambled to surround her, cruelty burning in their eyes. Kaine knew these were not only the eyes on her. The tormentor's parents watched from the safety of their homes. She was attuned to the sensation. It was one she had experienced many times before. That just sucks. While some villagers simply turned a blind eye to the action of the children, many encouraged it openly. In a society ruled by superstition and fear, Kaine was something to be hated and, if possible, destroyed. "I didn't say you could leave, freak." Daimo's words chewed at her like a worm through an apple. "He can't hurt me." She lied to herself. "Be strong, be brave. He can't hurt me, he can't hurt me, he can't hurt." Oh look, the little freak's gonna cry. What's wrong? Are you sad that everyone hates you and wants you dead? Kaine prayed for the rain to flood down and carry her away from a world that seemed to have no place for her. But if there were gods, they chose to ignore her. As Daimyo crept closer, the clouds began to thin and the rain slowed. Even the weather hates me. I'm useless. A failure. I wish Daimyo's rock had taken my head off. Kaine couldn't meet Daimyo's leering gaze. She lowered her eyes and stared at the muddy ground below. The bully moved forward until he was inches away. She could smell the scent of old meat on his breath. The boy grabbed Kaine's face with thick fingers and yanked upward. She tried to turn away, but he forced her gaze back and jammed his thumb against her eyelid to pry it open. Show me. No. Did you just say no? Daimyo grinned evenly. You don't say no to me. No one says no to me. Not even taking his attention from Kaine, he called to his cohorts. Come on, guys. Let's give this freak what she deserves. As soon as Daimyo finished, kicks and blows began to rain down upon Kaine. Daimyo paused, still grinning, as Kaine curled into a ball and tried to make the pain stop. I don't get you, freak. What you acting like a girl for, huh? Everyone knows what you really are. Kaine ignored the question, choosing instead to stare at the weather vane and continue to point east, as if supremely confident about the future it had chosen for her. Go home? Yeah, it's a funny joke for someone with dead parents to have and no home to go to. Freak! Chanted the children. Freak, freak, freak! Kaine closed her eyes and listened to the rain, waiting for the pain to start again. As the clutching hands of the village children closed around her, she bent her mind to the sound of the rain, letting it become her world entire. And the rain fell. But the pain never came. Only when the laughter of her tormentors turned to terrified cries did she dare open a single caked eye. Kaine was shocked to see Daimyo sprawled on the ground, holding his head and screaming in pain. She could see blood welling from space between his fat, twisted fingers. Oh my god, he's crying. He's actually crying. Deprived of their leader, the other children glanced back and forth between themselves, as if waiting for someone to step forward and take charge. When no savior emerged, they began an uneasy shuffle away from Kaine. But the young girl was the least of their concerns. Instead, their attention was wrapped on the ancient woman standing a few feet away. After struggling for breath for a moment, she finally spoke, in a voice thick with rage. Hurts like a you-know-what, don't it? Now suggest you scatter before I throw another one. And if any of you little jerks ever touch Kaine again, my Kaine that is, I'll do far worse than throw a rock, you can count on it. The old woman crouched down gently and touched the hand Daimyo was using to cover the wound. Before he could think to protest, she ground her palm into the wound and twisted back and forth. Ow, he screamed, leaping to his feet. Stop it, what are you doing? Quit whining. Ain't no one ever died from a scratch. You hit me with a rock, you stupid. A big one. That thing could have killed me. The old woman shrugged. Death is the best cure for stupid. Daimyo's face twisted with rage at her words. Locking eyes with Kaine, he took a step backwards and spat on the ground. Get out! Leave the village! No one wants you here, either of you! Seeing the old woman grab another stone, Daimyo and his companions turned tail and ran. As they fled, the old woman grabbed her side and barked a single laugh. Ha! Look at the fat boy go. Guess he's healthy enough to run from a fight. The woman smiled. The woman's smile faded as she turned attention to Kaine. Kneeling down, she removed her shawl and placed it around the young girl's shoulders. Then produced a cloth for the folds of her dress and began blotting the blood on her forehead. Oh, Kaine, she said. Why don't you fight back? You're stronger than that lot. The words of her grandmother stung Kaine, and she turned away. Don't be nice to me, she said. I don't deserve it. Nothing matters anymore. Her tears, held in check for so long, finally began to fall on the muddy ground below. Everyone hates me. They think I cause bad things to happen. They think I'm a freak. I wish I was dead. As Kaine's tears turned to sobs, she felt her grandmother's hands on her shoulders. Despite her advanced age and diminutive size, she was a woman of surprising strength, and Kaine found herself unable to turn away. Don't talk like that, girl. It's a river wide and deep that flows between the realms of this world and the next, and it grants no mercy to any attempt to cross in. You got a duty to fight until your last breath, understand? The old woman tightened her grip and tried to still the tremor in her voice. You know the pain of losing someone close to you, Kaine. You know because you survived it. The words hit home. Kaine was struck by the force of her love for the old woman. As a young child, she didn't even know of her grandmother, but when her parents died, the woman quickly accepted her as her own. Grandma, as Kaine called her, was cunning, vulgar, and quick to violence, and their first few years together had not been easy. But with each year that passed, Kaine and her grandmother had grown closer. However, it was only now, sitting in the mud with tears and blood caked into her face, that Kaine truly understood the depths of her affection. Here was a woman who had seen hard times, who had seen death, who had fought through all these things and somehow emerged on the other side. If anyone could understand Kaine's pain and loneliness, it was her. Do I make you sick, Grandma? Of course not. Don't be a butt. Kaine drew her grandmother's moth-eaten shawl around her body and shuddered. But my body, it's not normal. If I was normal, then Mom and Dad wouldn't... Hush, interrupted Grandma. I'll not hear another word of this nonsense. You are my granddaughter, and I love you. And if folks have a problem with that, they can just go to hell. With that, the old woman reached out and placed a wreath of dried feathers in Kaine's hair. The skill it took to bend the flowers without breaking the stems or losing a single petal was remarkable, and the beauty of it made Kaine want to cry all over again. Oh my gosh, these are lunar tears. Grandma, you made this for me? Lunar tears are legendary flowers. Most people could live their entire lives without ever seeing one, and yet her grandmother had somehow collected a dozen or more. Kaine reached up and touched the wreath as if she couldn't believe it was real. Where'd you find these? Just stumbled on them while I was out doing the shopping. The old woman turned away as she spoke, leading Kaine to suspect that the search had been more difficult than she was letting on. The pains she took to construct the ornament, let alone track down all the flowers used in this construction, made Kaine's heart hurt. She reached up and gently adjusted the wreath, admiring the way it felt between her fingers. Didn't quite turn out right, said her grandmother as she squinted at it. These old hands have trouble with delicate work, but it sure looks good on a pretty girl like you. Kaine blushed and turned away. You think I'm pretty? Of course you are. What a fool thing to say. Thank you, Grandma. Her grandma smiled. You're going to be fine. You and me, she said. Long as we got each other, we'll be just fine. Kaine took her grandmother's hand in hers, and the two of them struggled to their feet. As they began to walk home, Kaine gripped the hand with all her might, as if trying to stop smoke from drifting away in the wind. The rain had stopped. Kaine stood beneath the weather vane, watching it spin in lazy circles, no longer caring about the direction it faced when it stopped. I don't need to escape. I have a home now. Grandma loves me, and that's enough. Even if it's us against the world. Kaine let her gaze drift upon the past the vein into the cloud city. Into the cloudy sky. The last faint hints of a rainbow were slowly fading. As she turned her head for home, the lights scattered into a million particles and vanished, seemingly taking away on a breeze. This sucks. I hate this whole... Here's a novel. In the distance, Kaine heard a steady sound of axe striking wood. The noise had purposeful quality to it, as if she was hearing a master woodsman go about his work. The firewood being produced, however, was far from a work of art as it could be. Pieces of every shape and size were being flung at a barnyard with a wild abandon. Anyone trying to stack such wood would probably die of frustration before the job was through. Stupid piece of poop axe! Kaine's grandmother flailed away with the axe, filling the air with both splinters of wood and words that could make the most hardened sailors blush. Grandma! That you, Kaine? Yelled the old woman, taking her eyes off the wood for a moment. Don't get too close or I might take your foot off by mistake. She bore the axe down the piece of wood, sending chips flying in every direction. One spun past Kaine close enough for her to hear the whistle, at which point she decided to step back. When she scuttled to safe distance, she cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted, "Grandma, do you need help? I can get you water, lunch, or a new axe or something." The axe, poised to strike another wobbly blow, paused in midair. The old woman considered her grandmother's offer for a moment and smiled. "Tell you what, since I'm doing such a bad job of chopping, why don't you come here and take over so I can get the water? Shades have been restless lately, and I don't want you running into one of them." Relinquishing the axe, her grandmother picked up a long pole with wooden buckets on either end. Gathering water was far more difficult of the two jobs, but Kaine knew better than to complain. Once Grandma's mind was set, there was no changing it. Kaine did her best to help with chores, but Grandma took every task that required travel into the village. Though she had a long list of plausible excuses, Kaine knew the real reason. She didn't want her grandmother to be taunted and harassed by the villagers. Once Kaine moved in, Grandma decided to take up residence a good distance from the area. Out of sight, out of the mind seemed to be the best policy when it comes to the villagers and her granddaughter. Then rare were the days when any but the two of them could be found on the rocky acre of land they called home. Kaine enjoyed the solitude, but harbored a secret resentment that her grandmother was forced to spend her golden years in such a place. After watching her grandmother leave, Kaine turned her attention to the task at hand. She had never chopped wood before in her life, and soon discovered why the old woman hated the chore. Swing after swing of the axe produced only a tiny crack in the wood. And when she finally managed to connect with a solid strike, the tool embedded itself into the log and refused to budge. Frustrated, Kaine swung the axe around her head and threw it, log and all, across the yard. Dang it, oh crap. She suddenly understood her joy. The joy her grandmother felt in a good curse. Happier now, she picked up the axe, forced it from the wood, and resumed chopping. She had a natural skill with a blade, but the task was challenging, and blisters soon began to form on her small pink hands. This is tough, and my logs were all weird sizes. Spitting on her palms and ignoring the pain, Kaine redoubled her efforts. Just as she was developing a rhythm, Grandma returned from the village. Setting down her buckets with a small sigh, she took one of the logs and coughed a wheezy laugh. "Pretty clumsy, girl. You better practice if you..." Her grandmother suddenly collapsed her knees, causing one of the buckets to wobble. Eyes wide, Kaine dropped the axe and ran to her grandmother's side. "Grandma!" The old woman shook her head and pointed a trembling finger at the bucket. "Get the bucket, can't let it spill." Kaine steadied the bucket with a foot as she knelt by her grandmother. A small bit of water sloshed over the side and made a new home in the helm of her dress, but Kaine didn't notice. Grandma, what's happening?" Crazed with panic, she grabbed her grandmother by the shoulders and shook. After a moment, the woman lifted her arms and batted Kaine away. "Stop that! Just stop!" she cried, breathing heavily. "It ain't like I'm dying. Just tired from the trip is all." Kaine desperately wanted to believe her, but one look at the woman's shaking hand and worn face told her more words than she could ever. Her grandmother had lived a long, hard life, and it seemed the bill was finally coming due. The time when her grandmother watched over Kaine was ending. Sooner than either of them had feared, the positions would be reversed. The next morning, Kaine came to the side of her grandma's bed and took her wrinkled hand. "Grandma, you're sick. You need medicine. I'm going to the village." The old woman shook her head and tried to rise, but Kaine gently pushed her down. "It's all right," she said. "I'll be fine." Her grandmother fixed her with a gaze that could melt steel. After what seemed an eternity, she finally lowered her eyes and sighed. "Well, I don't like it. But I guess I should quit being so stubborn and let you grow up." The old woman watched as Kaine strapped her boots on her boots and made her way down the road to the village. Hours later, as an unseen sun made its way across the dark, rainy sky, she was still watching. Kaine moved at a brisk pace, checking her pockets every few minutes to make sure the money her grandma gave her was still there. Every noise caused her to spin her head, spin on her heels, making sure she wasn't being stalked by Shade, or worse, Daimo and his gang. But she encountered neither tormentors nor Shade, and Kaine finally made herself to the entrance of the village. The few adults she could see glanced sideways at her, then muttered to each of the other behind raised hands before sulking into the shadows. Her heart racing, Kaine took a series of rapid, shallow breaths to try to calm herself. I have to prove myself. I have to help Grandma. I have to be strong. She chanted those words to herself over and over as she slowly made her way. Finally, her eyes settled on a rotund older woman who was angrily waving her arms in the air and yelling to anyone who would listen exactly what she thought of Kaine's presence. Hey, lady, said Kaine with a bravado she did not feel. Where's the apothecary? The woman's flabby cheeks shook in bewildered anger. How dare this thing speak to me? She seemed to say, but Kaine saw her eyes, held a different emotion, fear. Yeah, we're both scared, lady. Trust me on this one. Which way? Kaine repeated. The woman pointed to a small building to her right before hitching up her dress and stumbling off the other direction. Kaine cringed, expecting a stone to come flying from the assembled crowd, but none came. Her mind was filled with a strange sense of pride as she made her way to the apothecary, but the new emotion had little time to take root. As soon as she opened the door, she noticed a familiar customer at the counter. It was Daimo. He had been clearly sent here on some kind of family errand because his gang of followers were nowhere to be found. Oh my god, he sputtered. What are you doing here, freak? The insult was delivered without force, and Kaine happily ignored it. Stretching on tippy toes to see over the counter, she asked the shopkeeper for the medication. Ha! Barked Daimo. That old finally keeled over? Go to hell, Daimo. The boy's eye grew wide and seemingly ready to fall out of his head before he could let fly a comeback or worse, a punch. The apothecary told them to knock it off before he kicked them out of the store. Daimo slunk out the store, cursing Kaine under his breath. Once he was gone, she allowed herself to breathe once more, taking a brief tour of the shop while the owner prepared the medication. Countless tiny bottles filled the cramped store, each with a label written in some indescribable language. An ocean of auras assaulted her nose, creating a scent that was exotic, but not altogether unpleasant. Seeing such a variety of supplies gave Kaine a sense of peace. Surely, in a world so vast, there would be a place she can call home. On the far wall, behind the counter, rested a portrait of a stunning girl. The picture had once contained bright, vibrant colors, but time had worked its cruel magic, and they were beginning to fade. The beauty of the work, however, remained undiminished. You like that picture? Kaine turned to find the apothecary with a small vial of medicine in his hand. His eyes were gentle but sad, and they seemed to stare through her into nothing as he spoke. It's my daughter. I sketched it when she was just a little girl. She's been dead a long time now. Kaine didn't know how to respond. She just stared at the portrait and tried to come up with the right words. Pictures are wonderful things, continued the shopkeeper. They let the ones closest to you live on forever. He shook his head slightly, then looked down at Kaine and smiled, handing her the medicine. He reached into her sizable green apron and produced a handful of old wax crayons. You should have these. There's no one left that I wish to draw. Kaine took the instinctive step back, causing the shopkeeper's face to darken. Yes, I've heard the rumors about you, he said. It's a small village, and word travel quickly. Between you and me, I'm not sure which of them to believe, but I also don't think that they much matter. I know your grandma, Kaine, and I think the way she was driven out of this town is just deplorable. Kaine's grandmother's name is Kaine? Thought Kaine. She was still mulling over the new facts in her mind, and she reached out gently and took the crayons from the apothecary's hand. Your grandmother is an old friend of mine, she said to Kaine, screwing away yet again, and I owe her much. I wager she would like it if you drew a picture of her. Yes, I think she would like that very much. Oh, is that the picture we saw in Kaine's hut? It's gotta be. Kaine murmured a quiet agreement, but inside her heart was bursting. Never before had a villager treated her with such complete contempt. It was a tiny, almost imperceptible step, but it was a step nonetheless, and with enough tiny steps, She thought she might one day discover the rest of the world. Stop being itchy. When Kaine returned home, she found her grandmother asleep in her bed. Her feet were blackened and raw. Oh no. Even bleeding in a bit of places, leading Kaine to think she had been pacing around. Oh, okay. To the room until exhaustion finally caught up with her. She placed the medicine by her grandmother's pillow and turned to leave, but found the old woman. What just touched me? She found the old woman's hand grasped around her arm. Back already, are you? Asked the grandmother with a yawn. Come here. Let me have a look at you. Grandmother stepped up and examined Kaine from head to toe. Finally satisfied that nothing terrible had befallen her grandchild, she leaned back and allowed herself to relax. Well, how was it? Those jerks giving you into trouble? It was kind of fun, Kaine said with a small smile. No, seriously, it was. Fun, eh? Asked her grandmother with a voice which implied she had believed anything but. Uh-huh. So anytime you need me to run an errand, just let me know. As she spoke, Kaine removed the crayons from her pocket. After a brief exploration of their source, she informed her grandmother that she was going to sketch her portrait. A portrait of me? Ridiculous. No one wants to stare at a wrinkled old crone. But Grandma, it'll make you live forever. Horse poop, said her grandmother, throwing back the sheets from her bed. Living forever would just tick me off. Now put those crayons away and help with dinner. But Kaine would not relent. And in the end, Grandma found herself leaning against the wall of their house as if posing for a master artist. Kaine took up the crayons, eyed her subject carefully, and sat to work. Just as her grandmother was about to nod off, Kaine finished a piece. After staring at it for a bit, she released it from her grip and let it slowly drift to the floor. It's terrible. It doesn't look like you at all. I'm sorry, Grandma. I thought these crayons would, make drawing easy or something. The old woman's eyes narrowed at her grandmother's disappointment. Let me be the judge of that, she said, ignoring the pain in her back and reaching for the paper. The sketch could have been a person's face, but also could have been a boulder, a lump of clay, or an incredible misshapen loaf of bread, all rendered in a chaotic array of colors. The old woman stared at the picture for a long time, then slowly wheezed out a laugh. Oh, Kaine, she said between laughter, you truly are my blood. You're as clumsy as me, and I love it. But, hush, I won't hear any more bull about how ugly you think it is. It came from the heart, and I'll treasure it always. True to her word, the old woman gave the picture a place of honor above the kitchen table. In the days followed, Kaine would often catch her staring at the portrait with a strange smile on her face. An action interpreted as silent, mocking laughter. A week later, Kaine couldn't stand it no more, and she asked her grandma to take the artwork down. Push, said the old woman. I'll take this down when they roll me into the shroud. Roll me in my shroud. She pondered this for a bit and then turned to Kaine and jumped to one knee. Listen to me, girl. Seeing this picture makes me happy in a way I've never felt before. And it makes me want to go on, so that someday you can feel the same happiness. It was a moment that burned itself into Kaine's memory, a perfect blend of pride and love and joy that came together to form a lifelong remembrance. She swore to never forget this moment, to never forget the old woman who had made her place in the world possible. God. Time moves on. People and memories move in and out of life like ghosts passing through a hall. But this moment will be different, Kaine swore, because I will remember forever. Forever. More? Can I have a break? Like, just say, hey, would you like to save the game? And be done with it all? And come back, tomorrow? Holy crap. I'm just not a fan of this part. I haven't been forever. It's like, hey, we have all this story to tell, but we don't know how to tell. I know. Let's put it into a novel and make the player read it. It's ridiculous. I gotta turn my AC on because it's hot. I don't know if you'll hear it, but it's hot. Kaine listened to the sounds of cracking firewood and stared at the black object on her plate. She'd been pushing around on the wooden disc for a good 10 minutes, ignoring the bemused stare of her grandmother. Finally, she summoned her courage and gave the object a brief sniff. A sharp, bitter scent flew up her nostrils and made its home there, causing her face to twist with disgust. Grandma, I can't believe you. You want me to eat a bug. The old woman threw in some more wood under the cooking pot and snorted. It's no bug, you fool girl. It's a berry. Why would I be feeding you a bug? Yeah, well, it sure looks like a bug. I think it's burnt or something because it smells terrible. With that, Kaine held her nose and threw the berry in her mouth, chewing as little as possible. Oh yeah, that's terrible, alright. Why, you little brat? Look at the sass on you. You've been spending too much time with me, and that's a fact. 5 years have passed since the moment when Kaine's grandmother saved her from the bullies. As is often the way with the two stubborn people, the relationship had grown into fits and starts. But moving forward all the same, meals that used to be a smolder affairs now filled with laughter and hurled abuse in equal measure. Kaine could not remember a time when she had been happier. As the years went by, Kaine started to shoulder more and more of the daily responsibilities. Her grandmother's legs grew weaker by the day, and she could no longer do many of the chores she used to take for granted. And so this morning found Kaine lacing up her work boots with a breakfast, a burnt berry rolling through her belly. Where are you going today? Asked Grandma suddenly. Kaine looked up, surprised. The old woman rarely asked for specifics anymore. Well, I was going to check out the calma trees and see if they were ripe. I thought we could make some jam or something. Oh, and I'm going to pick up some flagstones, so I need to take the wheelbarrow. Flagstones? What for? Kaine stared at her grandmother and held an arm and swept it around their home. Construction mostly of cloth, rope, and rubble. The old place sagged like a boxer in the final round. Grandma, a dying cat could chew through this house. I'm going to build a stone wall so we have some protection. The old woman laughed, exposing her toothless grin to the world. Yeah, girl, if a bunch of thieves want to ransack this old place, let them come. We got nothing worth stealing anyway. I'm not worried about thieves. I'm worried about shades. People saw one west of the village yesterday. The old woman tilted her head and stared at her grandmother. Or granddaughter. Well, shoot. I don't know why you'd have to do it today. You can worry about some other... Grandma? No. If I don't go to the quinoa trees, we won't eat tonight. You know that. A confused expression passed across the old woman's face. For a moment, she was a small child, lost at the carnival. Yes, she said after a bit. Yes, of course you're right. Sorry, Kaine. Lately, it seems my mind is... She didn't finish the thought. Instead, walking over to her nightstand and gently taking the wreath of lunar tears from the jar. The flower petals had aged to a brilliant whiteness, and Kaine thought it was more beautiful now than the day she first received it. If you're going to be a true woman soon, Grandma said as it placed the flowers in the girl's hair. So that means less chatter about shades and building defensive walls, more talk about how beautiful you've become. Annoyed, Kaine reached up to remove the garland, but the look on her grandma's face stopped her hand. You're a beautiful thing, said the old woman, and there ain't another like you in the world. I'm very proud of you. Okay, Grandma, that's enough compliments for one day. Such a mouth on you. Where'd that come from? Gee, I wonder. I'll teach you to sass me, girl. Suddenly, she lurched forward and grabbed Kaine by the ears, pulling her around the room with a crazed grin on her face. Grandma! Yelled Kaine in a quaking voice. Grandma, stop it! What the crap, man? The old woman stared at her and blinked, and slowly held her wrinkled hand out as if the first time she had ever seen them. Oh, I don't know what happened there. I'm sorry, girl. Sometimes my mind just... Kaine thought. The look on her grandma's face was the most heartbreaking thing she'd ever seen. Listen, she began. Maybe I should stay home after all. No, I won't have you stay here and keep an eye on an old... Cogger like me? I don't know. You go and get your fruit and your wall and whatnot. I'll be fine. And when you come back, I'll have a nice grasshopper dinner waiting for you. Kaine rolled her eyes and kissed her grandma on the forehead and ready to depart, trying desperately to ignore the worry that was gnawing at the walls of her heart. Kaine could feel the old woman's eyes watching her as she moved down the path. Don't turn around, she told herself, but in the end the temptation was too great. She spun around on her heel for one final look and saw a small, bent woman standing in front of a ramshackle hut with a sad expression on her face. Gods, she looks so old now, like the wind could reach down and just carry her away. Kaine worried about her grandmother all day, causing her work to suffer. What little fruit she could collect was tossed carelessly into the wheelbarrow. She found only a couple of stones before losing interest in the project. Finally, as dusk approached, she decided to call it a day. Cursing herself for the lack of focus, Kaine pushed the nearly empty wheelbarrow back down the path. As she crested the final hill, she suddenly froze in place. The wheelbarrow fell from her fingers and collapsed to the side, sending a few pieces of wrinkled brown fruit rolling down the hill. Her gaze was transfixed by a thick black cloud that hovered just above. Tracing its path with a finger, Kaine suddenly felt her stomach knot into itself. Oh gods, no! Her grandmother's house was ablaze, the flames licking up as if trying to touch the sky itself. Grandma! Grandma! Kaine ran faster than she had ever moved in her life. Once she tripped on a stone and was sent sprawling to the rocky ground, but she leapt to her feet and continued running, unmindful of the blood spilling from her wounded hands and knees. As she got closer and closer, Kaine's mind began to race with her footfalls. It's too dark. It's too dark. No, just fire. It can't be fire. Too much smoke. Gotta save her. Gotta save her. She burst into the front yard and came to a sudden halt. Her worst suspicions confirmed. The smoke from the fire was mingling with the thick inkiness, blackness of an enormous shade. The massive creature supported itself on 3 twisted feet. Achieved balance through means of a large, enormous armor tail. Scales, horns, and claws sprouted from its body in a random, chaotic pattern, giving it an appearance of a lizard designed by some insane god. Seeing Kaine, it let out a roar and it flicked its tail, sending a small whirlwind spinning around the yard. For a moment, the creature retreated, into a shimmering, inky blackness, blah, 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 as if her mind was unable to comprehend such a thing could actually exist. But then the smell hit her, a blend of rotten meat and excrement. The horror became real once again. The creature bellowed again, and this time Kaine responded with a scream of her own. "Alright, you jerk," she thought as she screamed, echoed off the high cliff around them. "It's you and me, let's go." The shade eyed Kaine, bemused interest. Then they began looking for her in the house, back again. Looking to the house and back again, as if urging her to look at the destruction it had gleefully wrought. With dread building in her heart, Kaine glanced to the house. Through the smoking flames, she spotted a small figure struggling to escape the ruins. "Grandma!" At the sound of her voice, the old woman began waving frantically. "She's alive," thought Kaine. "Alive!" Kaine's legs sprang to life as she raced across the yard toward the flaming wreckage of the house. Before she could advance more than a few steps, the shade opened its mouth and let out a roar powerful enough to uproot trees and send them flying. The blast sent Kaine tumbling through the air just before smashing her against the rocky earth. Stars danced in front of her eyes as she turned to remember how her legs worked. Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Now! As Kaine struggled to her feet, the shades stomped towards the house and pinned her grandmother to the ground with the tip of her claw. The old woman struggled to move the claw from her stomach, but she might have been pushing a mountain. She coughed briefly, sending a small spray of blood into the air, then collapsed to the ground, her energy spent. Kaine lurched to her feet, only to fall back to the earth with a gasp. Her ankles were on fire. One or both of them were surely broken. Ignoring the pain and screaming through her body, she began dragging herself across the ground, leaving a drunken trail of dust and blood in her wake. "Grandma, hold on. Just a little longer." Her grandmother's face was turning blue, her eyes rolling back until only whites were exposed. Kaine pulled herself across the ground with maddening slowness, the distance seemingly to increase with every second passed. The shade glanced between the two women and flickered out its tongue. A giant mouth turned up at the corners. Short, painted breath belched from somewhere deep inside its core. Laughing at us? She had no idea how such a mindless creature could experience emotion, but there could no doubt the shade was taking joy in their suffering. "Yeah, I see your plan." The shade moved its claw slightly, allowing Grandma to breathe again. It was clearly keeping her alive, only to snuff out her life when Kaine was close enough to touch her. "I'm gonna kill this jerk." Summoning all their strength, Kaine rose to her feet. There was a sickening snap from her right ankle as the foot twisted backwards. She forced it from her mind and began to hobble towards the monster. Pulling a small knife from the pouch at her waist, she leapt on the foot that pinned her grandmother and plunged the weapon deep. "Give her back!" she screamed. "Give her back to me!" It was like stabbing a rock. After a few swipes, the knife broke at the hilt with a dull snap. The shade pained to laughter again, then raised his tail and sent it rushing through the air towards the young girl that was latched to its foot. Kaine never had a chance. The tail struck her square in the chest and sent her crashing into the burning wreckage of her home. As she lay on the ground with the blood pouring from multiple wounds, a small, weak voice spoke out. Weak voice, that is. "Kaine." Kaine's vision blurred as she forced herself to focus on the sound. Finally, her eyes cleared enough to make out her grandmother's hand reaching out through hers through the smoke. "Grandma!" "Kaine, you gotta run. You can't. Best this one?" Kaine grabbed the hand and held on with all her strength. "Grandma, come on, we have to go." The old woman coughed loudly. One of her hands, silk with blood, slipped from Kaine's grasp and thumped to the ground below. "Grandma, no, no!" "I said run. You have to live. You have to get through." The thought would stay forever unfinished. Before she could say another word, the shade's foot descended, smashing through the remains of the roof and down upon the shattered figure of the old woman. Blood oozed from the gaps of the creature's toes as she trembled. Putrid smell assaulted Kaine's nose once again. She stared at the foot, dumbfounded, convinced that what she was seeing could not possibly be real. So many words. When the creature finally lifted its appendage, all that remained underneath was a twisted, unrecognizable mass of rubble and red. Her grandmother was gone. Kaine blinked, trying to feel the hands which had been hers just a moment before. For a fleeting instant, she could remember the warmth of that embrace, the tremble under the fingers, but that sensation drifted away on the breeze and was gone. Memories flashed through Kaine's mind, one after another, faster and faster, until they became a meaningless jangle of noise. Kaine screamed then, a thunderous sound that echoed off the cliffs and seemed to roll away forever. The shade eased forward, black ichor pouring from its mouth and dissolving into smoke on the ground below. The earth shook with every step as it crept towards its prey. Kaine's body slowly rose, as if controlled by a mad puppeteer. Her arms and feet were bent at impossible angles, her head lolled dangerously to the side, yet somehow managed to stand. Staring at the shade, her eyes began to glow with a deep red fire. The creature, so confident just a moment before, took a slow, hesitant step back, trying to discern if this broken human could possibly be a threat. Kaine seized the moment, laughing like a madwoman. She leapt into the air and plunged the shattered hilt of the knife deep into the leg of the shroud. The shroud shook Kaine off like a fly, sending her crashing to the earth once again. Her chest rose and fell slowly, as if a great weight rested on it. Moist sounds of pain echoed through her mind. Something warm and thick oozed from her ears. Is that blood? I think it is. I think I'm bleeding to death. No, can't die. Grandma told me to live. Deep inside Kaine's mind, something finally broke. The sound, the pain, the smoke and flames, all of it faded away until all that remained was a single incarnation repeated over again and over again. Kill it. 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 Oh, crap ton more kill it's. Kill it now. As a spark that was Kaine slowly began to flicker and die, she felt desire to kill and her desire to live bleed into one. The distance between heartbeats grew longer and longer and longer. Holy crap. 44 minutes of reading. Well, 40-ish minutes of reading. Ridiculous.
The beast approaches.
Oh, I know.
I don't want to play as him again. We've done this one. I really gotta do this again? Welcome. Back here, boy.
What anger this creature must have. How did it even survive these past 5 years?
I'm not gonna let this happen again. It dies today.
Oops, sorry, Kaine. Kinda poking you.
Lighter. It's not the blade, but the skill of the user. Strike it down.
Get. Oh. Okay, fine. This one. Thought I got to play as Kaine. Are you like dead? I don't know what happened there. There it goes. Yeah, what happened to like being able to play as Kaine? I thought that's what this is gonna be about. Ah, come on. Seriously, is there no resting at all in this game? Can I take a break? Like, I would like to save and be done, but I guess not. Gently, weakly, softly, the shade, sure that his tormentor was dead, turned and stomped off towards the horizon, stomping along the way to bellow one final roar. Couldn't kill it. Shame beyond imagining. It's so whatever. Kaine tried to turn her head on her side, but only succeeded in coughing up a huge clot of blood. It was getting difficult to see. Only after a few moments of fierce concentration did she realize that her left eye was gone. Laughing to herself, she turned her remaining eye to the ruins of her home and noticed a ragged stump of an arm resting a few feet away. Yeah. That's mine, she thought with a mad giggle. It's gonna make clapping. What, really? You lost an arm? Ha! Cried a sudden voice in the depth of her mind. Finally gonna die, are ya? Well, you had it coming. Go to hell, Daimo, she thought as at the unseen assailant. Go to hell before I pluck out your eyes and feed them to a dog. The voice of her childhood terror evaporated into smoke, only to be replaced by another, more recent voice. Hold still, said the apothecary, materializing from the ruins like a ghost. I want to draw you. That way you can live forever. No, stop. I don't want to live forever. I want to die right here. I see, he said quietly. Well, if that's what you want. The spectral shopkeeper fluttered in and out of existence for a moment, then produced a piece of paper and sketched quickly. After a few seconds, he turned the page to Kaine and smiled. Since you rejected my offer, I decided to draw someone else. It was a picture of her grandmother. As if realized life, Kaine opened her mouth to thank the man, but stopped as the picture began to blacken in the middle. Before she could say anything, dozens of multi-legged insects began to swarm across the image, tearing it with sharpened pincers. Stop! No! Don't hurt that picture! Kaine reached out with her remaining arm and waved fruity in the air. To her surprise, the insects fell off the page to the ground below, where they vanished in tiny black tendrils of smoke. Relieved, Kaine turned her good eye back to the picture, only to open her mouth as a silent scream. The sketch not showed her grandmother she truly was, a smashed, unrecognizable lump of nothing. The apothecary smiled and broke into a jolly dance. See that? He cried as he danced his jig. It's perfect now. She looks just like you. Ha 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 ha. I look like that? Oh god, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Drawn in despair, Kaine laid her head back in the mud and smoke of her ruined house and waited for the end to come. But just before she let everything go, an unfamiliar voice began whispering in her ear, Ain't you got a wish, sunshine? The voice was vulgar and fierce at the same time, as if insanity had somehow found a way to take form. Kaine wanted to scream at the voice crawled under her skin, but her lungs refused to work. Yeah, I know. A wish. Like a prayer. You know? Like whatever. You don't get on your knees and start praying to heaven. Why don't you get on your knees and start praying to heaven? Please, invisible man in the sky, save me, save me. Kaine finally restored to shouting at the voice in her mind. I don't make wishes. They don't come true for me. A curse. I'm a curse, a freak. I should be left to die. The other voice boomed in her ears. Oh God, you are the best. Kaine glanced down and saw a black, shining substance oozing from her leg. She tried to brush it away, but the remaining arm would no longer respond. The substance slowly crept around her feet, then began moving slowly up the rest of her body. Is this death? Is this what it's like? Or is my mind just losing itself? She could feel the slime oozing upwards, feel the hot, searing pain it left in its wake. Whatever else might be happening, she was alive, and this was real. Come on, said the voice. Let's go. Kaine tried to ignore the voice and concentrate on the pain, but the newcomer would have none of it. Don't ignore me, sunshine. You're ready to give up? Ready to die? Why not let me have it? Have what? Your body. Come on. Give it to me. Give it to me. I want to stand on the ground. I feel the rain. Taste the wind. The voice paused, as if licking its lips, then resumed. It was filled with mad, unabated joy. And I want to take your hands and use them to choke the god dang life out of people. I want to tear out their throats and bathe in the blood, just like before. In response, Kaine shifted her head and vomited. The warmth of it crept down her throat and mingled with the pain of the encroaching black ooze. Are you a shade? Yeah, maybe. What of it? The smile reached her face, crept up her past her nose, and slowly oozed its way into the socket of her missing eye. Jake. The moment it touched her brain, Kaine was struck with the most powerful sensation she had ever felt in her life. It was ecstasy. She wanted to scream with delight, but all she could manage was a small, whispered moan. Feels good, don't it? Asked the voice with a chuckle. Yeah, what can I say? I know how to please the ladies. Now give me that body. Come on, give me that body and I'll give you more of this feeling. It's a fair trade. A black lump began to protrude from Kaine's side. As she watched, it grew longer and thicker, eventually taking form of her missing arm. I can see better, she thought. My eye must be growing back too. The slime reached up to envelop the rest of her face, but she managed to brush it away. Stop, she whispered, marveling at how she managed to regain her voice. Stop. The black ooze hesitated, as if considering her request, and then quickly shimmered down to her body before disappearing into a cloud of smoke. Oh, what the hell, sunshine, screamed the voice. We had a deal. I thought you wanted to die. Grandma said I can't die. A brief image of her grandmother, bloodied and broken, flashed before her eyes. She saw the shade that had killed her and heard its mocking laughter, and then closed her eyes and forced the image from her mind. Her whole body was quaking with rage. When she opened her eyes again, they burned bright red. That thing took my grandmother. I have to kill it before I die. Kaine glanced down and saw a mysterious pattern of shade, burn itself into her left arm. Well, I'll be danged, said the voice cheerfully. Look at that, sunshine. Think you and me are gonna be good friends now. Kaine stared intently at her arm. The more emotional she felt, the more letters seemed ready to puncture her skin and began infecting the rest of her body. The arm clearly had a will of its own now. Stop, gotta stop. Holding her left arm in her right knee, Kaine took a deep breath and tried to calm herself. Come on, don't fight it, pleaded the voice. Hate's my favorite dish, and I'm hungry. Let it go. Feel the anger. Burn with the fire of revenge. Thirst for blood. Then go out there and... Shut up! Shut up! Get the heck out of my body! Your body? Oh, that's rich, sunshine. Real rich. Look, why don't you just up and die so I can have this body all to myself? What do you say? I bet those buddies of yours in the area would love to see you dead. Kaine grabbed a nearby shard of glass and tried to solve the shade-infected portion of her side. Before she could, her darkened left arm grabbed the right wrist, crushing it. Kaine screamed and dropped the shard, as the sound of bone crunching on bone filled the air. Stupid idiot girl. You're possessed now, Sunshine, and ain't no going back. The voice laughed again, a loud, long wail that seemed to go on without end. Possessed? Whispered Kaine. Yeah, possessed. You and me. We got what you might call a timeshare arrangement. Remember how folks used to think you were a freak? Well, wait till they get a load of you now. Kaine looked up, tears in her eyes. The sky seemed smaller, somehow darker. Is this because of the shade? Is this how they see the world? So, listen, purred the voice. I know this whole possession thing seems a bit sudden, but it ain't all bad. There's plenty in it for you, too. I'm a very powerful creature, Sunshine, and now that power belongs to you. You got enemies, people you want to kill. I can make it happen. That little fat kid who keeps picking on you, that big old shade that squashed your granny, well, we'll wrap them up in their own buttholes. No more abuse for you, Sunshine. No more pain. But wait, said Kaine. You're a shade. Why would you help me kill another shade? What? You think I'm some kind of racist? Some killing snob? I don't give a good you-know-what who you murder, honey pants. I just want to drink from the well. Kaine considered this as she struggled to her feet, the power of the shade coursing through her. The smoke from her house was drifting away in the wind. She enjoyed the way the cool evening breeze felt on her new left arm. After a long pause, the voice spoke up again. So, how about it? You and me. We can have some good times together. Look, I'll even take care of the bloody part if you don't want. Oh, okay, I'm not saying those. I'll handle the killing. Screamed the voice. Look at you go. Oh, Sunshine, we're gonna have so much fun. So listen, my name's Tyrion. And if you ever need me, I'll just be hanging out in this piece of meat you call a heart. Now, get to it. The more you kill, the more your heart turns rotten and sour. And I like rotten and sour. Kaine found herself nodding at the voice. Yeah, she said. Yeah, I think this could work. I'm gonna find that shade. I'm gonna strangle it with its own guts. And when I'm done, I'm gonna do the same to you, Tyrion. Count on it. Ha! Laughed Tyrion. I poop bigger than you, so good luck with that. Oh, and hey, one more thing. Right now, you and me are sharing this body. If you ever run out of the hate, if you ever, go soft, then I'm gonna take over everything. So keep on killing, Sunshine, and watch your back. The voice grew fainter and gradually faded away, fading to somewhere deep inside Kaine herself. Kaine waited until she was sure the voice was gone, and then waved her new left arm around a few times. It feels perfectly normal, she thought. It feels like mine. Desperately, she began poking and prodding at the new limb, determined to find something wrong with it. She didn't want to feel normal. That would have meant the creature inside her head had already won. I'm not a shade. I am Kaine. Repeating this mantra in her mind, she slowly began digging through the rubble of her house, being careful to ignore a certain red-stained spot in the corner. Finally, after seeing an eternity of heartbreaking work, she found what she was looking for. It was a wreath of lunar tears. Though it had been through hell and back, the garland petals were still bright as ever. Kaine started to place it on her hair and then slowly lowered the wreath and stared at it. Sorry, Grandma. So sorry. But I don't deserve to wear this anymore. I'm possessed. Corrupted. A freak. And this time, I don't think there's any going back. Holding the flowers to her heart, Kaine fell to the ground and sobbed. As night gradually lightened to dawn and the people of the area arose to the daily life, she remained in that position, as if tears could somehow wash away the horror that now infected her world. No more.
Alive. Stay alive. Stay alive.
Grandma.
Kaine, you gotta live. You gotta come back to us.
Oh, hey. Emile, you were the one calling me, weren't you?
You still recognize me?
Of course. I knew you right away.
Thank you, Kaine.
Welcome back, Kaine.
Wow, you grew up. So, how long has it been?
5 years.
Shit. That's a long time. Any luck with Yona?
We are still no closer to finding her. We need a way to locate the Shadow Lord.
By the way, this is for you.
Is that a lunar tear?
It's not as good as your grandmother's, but I tried.
Is that what he said the first time around? Because I don't remember. I do remember something about her grandmother before all this, I think. I don't remember if that's the same line.
No, it's great. Thank you.
Kaine waking from her long petrified sleep. Emile's unflagging kindness. Our reunion was a happy one, and we let it wash over us like rain.
Until they were
That
forced to
is,
sleep outside.
Until Devila and Popola had to go and ruin it all.
Yep.
Are you kidding me? You can't be serious!
Please, try to understand. People are tired and scared, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to bear the brunt of that.
This is crap, and you know it!
It's okay. We can sleep outside.
No one's sleeping outside. You and Kaine saved this village, and now they want to run you out?
People are afraid of us. And really, I understand. I mean, look at me. As long as you're still with us, I can deal with it. Right, Kaine?
I'm used to sleeping outside.
But
We'll see you later.
Sorry about this.
What is the matter?
Kaine always sleeps outside. I never thought about that until just now. Never even occurred to me. Damn it.
We should turn in.
No. I want to play as Kaine.
I
don't
didn't
want
get much
story
sleep
time.
that night. For the first time in my life, I hated Devila. For the first time in my life, I doubted Popola. But those feelings are pointless in the end. They said and did what they did for the sake of the village. To protect it from the horror of the Shades. Really, how can I blame Devila and Popola? In the end, I'm just as bad. Because I never once stopped to think about Kaine and Emile's situation myself.
Is there going to be any gameplay at all in this?
I should apologize to Kaine and Emile, but what good would that even do?
I got a fire going, Kaine.
Wait, is that...
Good.
Campfires are... I'm so happy to get to talk to you again, Kaine.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, me too.
I tried everything I could think of to save you, you know. I polished you with a special cloth. I poured warm water over you.
Wait, you poured water on me?
Yeah, but it didn't really do much except make you all shiny.
Hey, Emil. Thanks for saving me.
I guess you noticed how I look different now.
I'm sorry, Emil. I'm sorry for all of it.
Well, I mean, this new form isn't all bad, you know? At least I can look at you when we talk, right? Hey, so why don't you tell me something about yourself?
That requires a novel. No.
I'm not very interesting. Sorry.
Come on, I just want to know you better. Please?
But she can't go soft. If she goes soft, she loses control.
Fine.
So a lot more stuff makes sense now.
This all happened when I was a kid. Before the whole shade possession thing. My body is different. And when the villagers found out about it, they started treating me like a freak. But one person, my grandmother, accepted me just as I was.
What was the point of that hour of reading bull crap when you could have just done this?
No matter how bad things got, she gave me the strength to keep going.
She's really special to you, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, hey! That gives me an idea. Since we cured your petrification, we should start looking for a way to cure your possession in my body. I know we can do it if we all work together. Heck, it'll probably be super easy.
Let me guess. More warm water?
Okay. Can we just forget I told you about that?
That's nice. I like new stuff. But let me be Kaine. Stop with you. You go away. This is Kaine's story, not yours. I don't think there's going to be any gameplay. I think it's literally going to be just a story time.
Sleep well?
Sure.
And yet your red eyes tell a different... Don't be so hot.
I need to go see Devila and Popola.
Very well.
I'm actually in control here. What? Seriously? What's this one?
What?
It's Mom's diary.
I have not heard you speak much about your mother.
She got the Black Scrawl and died when I was little.
My apologies for bringing it up.
It's all right. I can barely remember her face anymore. This is the only thing I have left of her. Reading it helps remind me of when we were still a family.
I see.
But the final entries get a little strange.
In what way?
Well, here, take a look.
Don't know. What did I do? Who did I start?
Say there. Can you not hear me?
What the heck?
Why are you standing about like a slack-jawed ninny?
Sorry. Felt like I was dreaming or something.
Sleeping on one's feet is quite the talent indeed. Come now, there's the door.
Right.
No.
Let's go.
Okay, well, things just got different and weird, but I thought this was Kaine's story. Why we gotta deal with... man, whatever. We're gonna end the episode here. It's saved, so I can quit out, and when I load, it'll come back to this. And, yeah, we're gonna continue to go through this and hopefully do a lot more with Kaine than dealing with this stuff. But I hope you guys did enjoy, and if you did, hit that thumbs up button and show your support. If you're new and you haven't subscribed for more content, feel free to share this video and comment down below. And until next time, I'm ApexReaper. Y'all stay positive. Thanks for watching.
Afraid of the dark? Are you scared?